Logan, we got a lot to talk about here this week. It is state tournament time. We just wrapped up the soccer tournament over the weekend here in Minnesota at US Bank Stadium, which we will have Brad Carlson on the other side. Fun discussion with him talking about one of the most talented teams in the state in the boys soccer field, the Champion Stars in Class A. He is the fifth-year head coach of the Southwest Christian Stars, recently the champions of boys Class A soccer over the weekend at US Bank Stadium. It's his 11th year overall as a head coach, long time before that coaching in the high school soccer circuit. Our guest today, the head coach of the Southwest Christian Stars, Brad Carlson. Brad, first off, thanks for coming on and hopping on the podcast with us. Congrats to yourself and the terrific team you guys had this year. First thing I wanted to ask you, tell me a little bit about going into this season. You're coming off the shortened season from a year ago. End of the year, like I'm covering you guys for the state tournament. I see, okay, it's a team with 5 all-state picks, essentially. But what did you think you had at the beginning of the season? Ends up being the Stars going to their first ever state tournament, and you guys win it all in your 5th year.
Well, Matt, thanks a lot for having me here. This is really fun for me, too. Yeah, in the summertime, well, last year, COVID, we lost a third of our team for 2 weeks on both the varsity and the varsity reserve side, which gave players that wouldn't normally see varsity experience, which was great. So coming into this season, I had more players with varsity experience than I normally would, which made the very first week of camp really exciting. I also knew that I was not going to have John Brain, our first team All-Stater from last year, with us for sure for the first couple of weeks and maybe for a month. We just didn't know because he didn't know. The doctors weren't sure how long it was going to take for him to heal, which again meant that we had opportunities for players to step up and play different positions and different roles. So it's just a matter of getting everybody on the same page and seeing exactly what we got. And in that first week, so what we do the first week is we're taking 60 kids, freshmen through seniors, many of whom do not play club soccer, and we're bringing them in and making them feel a part of a program. So it's very much a part of a big team. It's part of the school. The freshmen, this is their first taste of high school, so they're getting to meet and know new friends because we don't have a middle school, right? So we're drawing from a bunch of smaller middle schools or elementary schools. So it's really an exciting time that first week. And then at the end of the week, we have a scrimmage. This year we scrimmaged, of course, Orono, my alma mater, Orono. And the scrimmage went really well. So it was at that point in time that we all just kind of had the feeling like, you know what, this could be a pretty good team. And we just kind of went from there. So
when you guys got that feeling early, like it was going to be maybe something special with your team, even before you got a terrific player, like you mentioned, in John Brain, who scored a pair of the goals for you guys in the final on Saturday. Was state, talking about state, getting to state somewhere that Southwest Christian hadn't been, was that something that you discussed with the team, that they discussed amongst themselves? How much did you guys kind of set concrete goals, like getting to state, if at all, this year?
Well, when you talk about goals, I am not the kind of a person who sets those kind of goals. Okay, I am, and I try to get my players not to set those kind of goals. Okay, you can only control what you can control. You know, and there's so many factors that enter into getting into a state tournament that you just don't have control over. So we don't set that as a goal. However, the conversation was there definitely. And the big reason the conversation was there was because we moved into 3 classes this year. So all of a sudden we were not in a section with Orono, Waconia, Wilmer, Holy Family. I mean, these are all teams that have gotten to the state tournament before, right? That kind of said to us that, you know what, we probably have a better chance this year. So let's make sure that we do all the things that we can do to prepare ourselves so that we can make a deep run come October.
You mentioned that you had a bunch of players who did not play club soccer. That seems to be not the norm anymore. That's the exception to the rule. It seems like just about everybody who plays soccer, at least at the big schools, it's probably a little bit different at the smaller schools, plays soccer year-round. How do you get those guys who are probably excellent athletes but maybe don't have the soccer depth of experience that some of the other guys do to fit in?
Well, we make it fun. I mean, when you take a look at why kids want to play sports, the top two reasons are always because it's fun for them and because they want to hang out with their friends. So especially when you're in a smaller school, I mean, our class sizes are now around 100. When I first started, they were about 35 or 40. You know, they want to be out there with their friends. So that's the biggest piece is give me bodies. I want bodies. I need guys who want to play soccer. And I don't care what their reasons are. I know what two of them are. They want to have fun and they want to play with their friends. And then I've got 4 years to develop them, even if they don't play club soccer. Give me freshmen who just want to have fun and if they're athletic, if they can run, hey, let's go have some fun and let's learn how to play this silly game. So
do you have to change maybe your philosophies that you use to make them a little less technical or not?
We work a lot on technique. Probably actually in the soccer world, especially with youth soccer, oftentimes that's being overlooked now. But on my program, so it's probably because I'm old school, right? I've been around for a lot of years. We work a lot on just ball skills, ball handling skills. We do a lot of dribbling. We do a lot of passing. We work on technique. We refine it throughout the course of the season. And we keep coming back to it. Because if your first touch in soccer, if your first touch is ugly, the whole landscape of the field changes. Jurgen Klopp said that if it takes you 5 seconds to control that ball on the first touch, what you saw at the beginning and what you've seen 5 seconds later has totally changed. So the decision that you were going to make now has to change. So if we can get that first touch to be solid, that's what we work on. And over 4 years, and we have stuff that we give the kids to use outside of soccer too, outside of the fall, to try to help them with their skills. It works out really well. Classic example, Nick Azanoff. Nick Azanoff is a really good hockey player, and he plays hockey year round. And he's not going to play summer soccer. But we have an app that we use that teaches individual soccer skills, and I gave it to all the kids at the beginning of the summer a couple of years ago. And I can actually monitor, because it's an app, right? So I've got all the statistics. So I monitor who's using it.
Provided by MOTI Sports. MOTI Sports is the ultimate youth soccer training tool, utilizing 3D motion capture technology to teach soccer skills and drills that can be studied from any angle. Coaches, parents, and players can download the MOTI Sports mobile app from the Apple App Store and Google Play. Check us out at motisports.com.
Well, here's this silly little sophomore kid, Nick Azanoff, and he's crushing the minutes on this app, right? Well, he comes around and I've gone, God, Nick, and I mentioned it to him. And then all of a sudden you see this show up in practice. He didn't make the varsity last year. He was on the varsity reserve, but when COVID hit, he gets the call up and the kid's just rock solid. Well, you saw him out there in the state tournament game. You couldn't get by him, right? I mean, they were having a hard time coming down his wing. He'd cover for his teammates because that's what he does in hockey. It just all worked really well together. So.
Hey, Brad, on kind of the flip side of that coin, right, you have these kids you're integrating into the team who maybe don't play soccer year-round, but I would imagine back when you started getting into coaching first to now, you have guys who have access to soccer facilities, indoor facilities, guys that are playing year-round, which wasn't really an option back when you were first getting into the game. So you mentioned guys like you're just working on ball skills with guys who maybe aren't focusing on soccer year-round. How do you kind of balance also some kids that have really high-level ability that are just have the skill level in Minnesota like we haven't seen really any time with the access to club soccer year round now. How do you integrate those guys into the team with the guys who maybe aren't playing year round?
The guys who play at a high level, like John Brain, Jake Patine, Luke Cam, those three guys in particular all played on the Minnesota United pool teams, right? But they're also playing high-level club soccer year-round. They know that it takes a team to win. It's not just individuals. And you saw that out there, that they need to play quickly, and they need to play not just with the best players, but you saw that they were knocking the ball outside to Nick, or they knock it back to Cam or Paschke, or out to the side to Bosch. All four of those fullbacks, by the way, none of them play club soccer, just to give you an idea, right? So they know that, but and it takes a team. And they also know that if they hold on to the ball too long at this level, they're going to get crunched. So if they can give the ball up and then get themselves in a better position to receive the next pass, it works best for them and for the team. So they're good, smart soccer players. The negative side of that is, because they play year round and because they play at a high level, their young bodies can't take it. I mean, the reason that John was out was because he was playing year round for the highest level club team that's in the state of Minnesota, and he's going to college IB camps, right? Which are brutal. It's a weekend where you're just playing all the time. And it takes its toll on him. Luke Cam had the same issues where during the season he'd wear out and he'd have these little nagging injuries. So that's the negative part of it.
With a guy like John Brain on your team, not ready to start the beginning of the year, but knowing you're going to get him back, how tough is it to have a team play well and develop into roles, and then at some point in the middle of it, have someone of that caliber come in and then have to change everything up and have everybody buy in?
This year was not hard. I mean, John was a captain, 4-year starter. He's obviously he scores goals. It's not very often that you find a player in the high school level that is a true goal scorer, and John is that. So everybody else knew that if we got John back, we knew where he was going to play. He was going to play in the 9. And until then, we just kept developing other players that will be able to play there in the future. So, I mean, it wasn't hard to get the other guys to buy in. Luke Cam played a lot of 9 for us. Jack Boyk played a lot of 9 for us. Jake Patine slid in there and played a lot of 9 for us. So we kept rotating different players in there. And, we were pretty successful. I mean, we didn't have many losses during the season because they're all good soccer players, and they adjust. They play different positions with their club, so you never really know. I mean, like Luke Cam, when he was playing with United, with the United pool team, they had him playing fullback, and I've got him up playing the 10 or the 9. So, these are good soccer players. They figure it out, and they know what's best for the team, so they adjust.
Brad, you also brought up the addition of the 3rd classification level, kind of breaking up the schools a little bit more, maybe opened up a little bit of an opportunity for you guys. It was obviously a fantastic team, one of the better ones Southwest Christian's ever had. Looking at it from a big picture perspective, like I covered a lot of the Class A games this year. I thought it was fun to see a lot of programs who hadn't been there before, maybe hadn't been there in a while. You guys played St. Paul Humboldt, who were in their first state final match in school history. Looking at it from the bigger picture, how good is that for the sport, for growing the game at the high school level? I live around St. Paul, and I know I think it was an alum of Humboldt bought out the broadcast so that it was free for everybody. People got really hyped up around here. I know people were excited about the Stars in Chaska. So how good is that for just growing the sport in communities where they maybe see their local school break through into the Class A field this year with the changes?
It's absolutely awesome. I know that the Minnesota State High School Soccer Coaches Association has been working for years with the Minnesota State High School League to try to go to 3 classes. It takes growth in the sport, which we've had throughout the state, which is great. And now that we've got the 3 classes, well, you can see, I mean, 6 of the 8 teams on the boys' side in the state tournament, this was the first time ever in a state tournament. And the 2 that have been there before, St. Cloud Cathedral and Rochester Lords, those are just storied soccer programs on the boys' side. So it's been really good, and it's great that the Minnesota State High School League felt that it was the right thing to do too. And I got to tell you, the Minnesota State High School League runs the absolute best soccer tournament you have ever seen in your life. All of their communications are awesome. The setup, the help that they have, I mean, it is just such a treat. So kudos goes out to the Minnesota State High School League and the Minnesota State High School Soccer Coaches Association for putting on just an awesome tournament.
I want to backtrack a little bit to something you were saying about the multi-sport athletes and how, or the single sport athletes who are playing the same sport year round and just playing a ton. We obviously hear how that's the way to get college scholarships now. It's probably better for the coaches in a lot of ways, but in your opinion, is it better for the kids, or would it be better to encourage athletes to have more diverse athletic pursuits?
I am all about playing more sports. I always have been. It's better for the athletes. I mean, you know the statistics on the number of kids who play high school sports who actually go on to play college sports. And it's not a big number. And then when you get to Division I college sports, it's much less. As a matter of fact, in the pre-COVID time, like 3 years ago, 17 male athletes, soccer male athletes, played Division I out of that one particular year. 13 of them came out of Shattuck, and Shattuck sub is not high school, right? I mean, that's an academy. They play year round. So when you take a look at numbers like that, and those were guys who got scholarships. When you take a look at numbers like that, you realize that we want these kids to be athletes. We want it to be a lifelong sport, and we want other sports for them to be lifelong sports. So we encourage, I always have, even at Orno, we encourage multiple sport athletes. That's what we're looking for.
Beyond the Bench is sponsored by BiPro, the ideal lifestyle choice for athletes and health enthusiasts, by providing clean protein without artificial ingredients or sugars. Whether you're looking for a pre- or post-workout supplement or a quick drink on the go, visit MOTIsports.com to receive 25% off your next BiPro item.
I guess if you were the czar of sports for the day, what would you do to change the system?
Oh my goodness. The money factor has become, I think, has become really difficult to work through for kids and for families. It's expensive to play sports these days, and it's really expensive to play higher club level. I'll just talk about soccer, but I know this applies to AAU basketball. It applies to hockey. Certainly hockey started it out. It's expensive. And if the families can't afford it, it's really difficult for them to play at these higher levels with really good coaches. Okay, that's the negative side of it. The positive side of it is there are a bunch in the soccer world of coaches who have a heart for kids, who aren't interested in the money, who still aren't interested in making a living out of coaching soccer. And those are the guys that you're seeing out in the fields with the young kids. And those are the guys that you're seeing in the inner city with the kids who can't afford to pay $10,000 a year to go, or $6,000 or $5,000 to play with a club. So I guess, what would I change? I don't know if you can change the way the sport is working here from a financial standpoint, other than people whose hearts are good, who see a need, and who are willing to, just donate their time, donate their expertise. And we see a lot of that in Minnesota. Minnesota United, for example, that's a no cost, which is great. They're funding that whole thing, and which means they're getting the kids that can't afford to play club soccer, but they're getting them in there because they're good soccer players and they can develop them there. Yeah. Anyway, probably not the answer you're thinking about, but money's tough, but the hearts of people around this community are really good. So,
Brad, I guess the last thing I've got for you, by all accounts, you're one of the good guys, like giving your time to help a lot of these players out. You were at Orono for a long time. You spent the last 6 years as the head coach there. You went into retirement and were coaxed out of retirement to come back to Southwest Christian, so it kind of culminated for you with the state title this year. What kept you away from coaching? What made you miss it that wanted you to come back and the opportunity at Southwest Christian?
Oh my goodness, there is nothing like being out of the soccer field with a bunch of kids in the summertime and in the fall. I played 3 sports when I was in high school. Soccer was not one of them, right? Because back in my era, they didn't have soccer yet. So, and I can tell you, I played a lot of baseball, town team baseball. And in the springtime, you get that smell of the grass and the oil on your glove, and you're just chomping at the bit to get out there. Well, it's the same thing in soccer with the boys and the girls. There's nothing like being out on the soccer field with your friends, playing games, having fun, and just watching the kids grow and develop over the course of the season. And that's, I took a few years off. The reason that I left Orono was because of the economic downturn. And I lost a job that allowed me to coach, right? So all of a sudden I was scrambling, and it was good timing because Derek, who I had coached when he was younger, we were both Orono grads, and I had coached Derek. I was the assistant coach, and he was ready. He had come out of St. Thomas. He had assisted me for a couple of years, and obviously he was ready because, he's won 2 state championships and been there a ton of times. So it was good timing. And actually I came back and coached his sophomore team for a year before I went to Southwest Christian. So I was itching to get back once I got the whole work thing figured out and had the time, because, it's difficult to coach high school sports if you're not a teacher because of the time that it takes, and you got to have a job. You have to have employers that are willing to be flexible. And sometimes that's hard to find. So I was itching to get back. And then when the Southwest Christian job opened up, the reason I got that was because a nephew of mine is a teacher there. And he just came and he says, "Uncle Brad," he says, "we need a soccer coach." And I said, "Well, I'm probably not your long-term solution. Look at the color of my hair." And interviewed, got the job, and off we ran. So it was good. It's been a good run for 40 plus years.
All right. Again, we want to thank our guest, head coach of the Southwest Christian Stars boys team, state champions in Class A from this past Saturday. Brad, thanks again for doing this and being here in the TC Game Time podcast.
Well, thanks, Matt and Logan. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you guys, and thanks for all of your coverage for high school sports. It's awesome. You guys do a great job. I appreciate it.
Provided by MOTI Sports. MOTI Sports is the ultimate youth soccer training tool, utilizing 3D motion capture technology to teach soccer skills and drills that can be studied from any angle. Coaches, parents, and players can download the MOTI Sports mobile app from the Apple App Store and Google Play. Check us out at motisports.com. Beyond the Bench is sponsored by BiPro, the ideal lifestyle choice for athletes and health enthusiasts, by providing clean protein without artificial ingredients or sugars. Whether you're looking for a pre- or post-workout supplement or a quick drink on the go, visit motisports.com to receive 25% off your next BiPro item.